What conspiracy theories do you think are too logical to ignore? New Coke was a way for Coca-Cola to switch from real sugar to corn syrup without people noticing. Switch to the new formula that everyone hates. Keep it for a while so that people demand the old one back. Then switch it back after enough time has passed that people wouldn't notice the relatively subtle change. That the US knowingly left POWs behind in Vietnam. That this question is reposted every couple of weeks by them to see just how close the public is to figuring out their schemes. And that this response is reposted every time to throw you off our trail. With the number of billionaires that are psychopaths or similar, there must be a few super rich serial killers out there. By extension, there must be people making money supplying victims in the same way Epstein was supplying girls to the wealthy who wanted to scratch an itch. With the money, power and influence would come governments and intelligence agencies willing to overlook or cover up terrible actions for leverage. Nothing's actually happening in Area 51. The government just keep it so people will focus on it and ignore the shady stuff happening somewhere else. David Miscavige, the chairman of the Church of Scientology, definitely murdered his wife and is getting off scot-free for it. Him and his wife got into a pretty heated argument in 2007. And she hasn't been seen since. Lawyers hired by David claim she is still alive and devotes 100% of her time to work at the Church of Scientology, which is why she hasn't been seen since August 2007. In 2013, a former member of the church had filed a missing person report that was closed after a few officers had spoken and seen Mrs. Miscavige, even though there's no evidence whatsoever of this meeting. All missing persons reports now are turned down since this investigation is forever closed. Mattress Firm is a drug cartel or a money laundering company, or maybe they're laundering money for the drug cartels. I don't know. But whatever it is, they're up to no good. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Google Disney Frozen you would get information about the movie and not websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. The same goes for Disney on Ice. I like that people always are worried that Epstein was murdered instead of suicide. What if this was a ploy to cover up that he just escaped or paid his way out of prison? That Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson are Michael Jackson's actual parents. That's why he was the talent in the Jackson family and why there were rumors that he was Evan Ross's father. They both look like Diana. Smokey would have been 18 and Diana 14 years old when Michael was born, so Berry Gordy arranged to have the kid given to his old boxing buddy and fellow musician from Chicago, Joe Jackson, who he would fund, leading to the formation of the Jackson 5. Joe had a big family where Michael would get everything he needs while training him to be an entertainer, and Motown could protect their image by taking the child out of the picture. It turns out the kid is a talent, and as we all know, the Jackson 5 make it to Motown. But even before that, there were several documented instances of Diana Ross in Gary, Indiana, such as at the school talent show where the Jackson 5 performed. She has said multiple times on live television that Michael is her baby child, says she's doing it all for him, and joked about him playing her son in a future movie. She has also said publicly she was in love with Smokey Robinson growing up, living on the same street as him in Detroit, which is odd because he had a girlfriend during that time who he later married. Anna also changed high schools around the time Michael was conceived, when she would have gotten pregnant. She was going to Cass Tech to study home economics, and Smokey also enrolled in an engineering college around this time, because they were soon to be parents and Motown hadn't broke big yet. A decade later, the Jackson 5 auditioned for Motown in Detroit, then did a second performance at a Motown get-together at Berry's house. And Michael has stated that at that point Diana told them she wanted to take special interest in their career. There's a movie called Double Platinum which stars Diana Ross and is about how she gave up a kid for her career and later reveals to the kid she's her mother when she sees that the kid has talent. Then goes on to help her with her career, which would parallel the real life story with Michael. Her daughter in the movie also wears a dress that has the same design as the shirt Michael wore for Billie Jean at Motown 25. It's written by Michael in his autobiography Moonwalk that he and the Jacksons lived with Diana Ross in Hollywood Hills when the Jackson 5 first signed to Motown and moved to LA. And her and Michael used to go out almost every day, just the two of them. This would have been when Diana Ross revealed to Michael she's his mom. He would have been about 10 years old, and that's why he became quiet and shy from then on. This wouldn't be her only time doing this. When she had a daughter with Berry Gordy, she didn't tell her who her father was until she was 13. Smokey Robinson also stated when he was leaving the Larry King interview shortly after Michael passed away that one of his fondest memories of Michael was when he used to go golfing at the age of 10 or 11 with him and Bobby Taylor, who is said to have discovered the Jackson 5 even though their first album at Motown was presented by Diana Ross. This was also what Michael meant in the song Billie Jean when this happened much too soon. She called me to her room. Diana was the one who said I am the one. But the kid is not my son. She meant I am your mother but you're not my son. You're a Jackson now. Diana Ross is Billie Jean. Diana plays the singer Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues, which came out a few years before The Whiz with MJ. This is also what the song Dirty Diana is about. It's about Diana Ross, the groupie who seduces Smokey Robinson, who she grew up on the same street as, conceiving Michael. Then there's the song Who Is It, which is about a mystery person who abandoned Michael, and in the music video he holds a card that says Diana. The song Wanna Be Starting Something also talks about how if you can't feed your baby, then don't have a baby, and again refers to the mystery Billie Jean character. He references Ain't No Mountain High Enough in the song Leave Me Alone and says don't you come walking begging back, mama. He also references Ain't No Mountain High Enough in the songs Baby Be Mine, Speechless, and Keep the Faith. This is also why you see a weird sexual dynamic between Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, but you will never actually see a picture or video of them making out. Recently a video surfaced of Diana Ross singing You Are Not Alone to Katherine Jackson, just like how she probably used to sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough to Michael when he was living with her. This is seen in the aforementioned movie Double Platinum as well. Diana sings her lost daughter to sleep with a famous song. And in TMZ's video The Last Time We Saw Joe Jackson, an old senile Joe says I raised Michael. He's my son and Quincy Jones knows better. I don't talk about it. No way. He's defending the supposed fact that Michael is his son for a seemingly unknown reason. And even in past interviews he always emphasized he is a Jackson. After MJ's death, Joe, when interviewed, said he was doing great. Meanwhile, Smokey Robinson went on the Larry King show and praised MJ as an artist. This theory explains why Michael not only looks like Diana Ross and has the same features and eyes as her, but also explains why his facial structure looks like Smokey's and their profiles and ears are completely identical, and why he was a musical prodigy who had the stage presence and songwriting abilities of his real parents. Diana, Smokey and Michael are the only 3 musicians besides the Beatles who have 2 stars each on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for being a member of their original groups and one to celebrate their success as a solo artist, as well as having a very soft voice, which both Smokey and Diana and Evan Ross have in common. Here, you can see how much different his eyes looked from his brothers and how much they look like Ross eyes. Now you can see why his personality developed the way it did. It's why he acted like an orphan and called himself Peter Pan and built Neverland to help disadvantaged kids. Why he isolated himself from his family and could never manage to have a normal relationship with women. It absolutely explains why he had such a severe identity crisis. And it explains why Diana Ross is second to Katherine Jackson in his will regarding who would take care of his children, and why Joe Jackson has been known to dislike Diana Ross. At Michael Jackson's public memorial, the first person that comes out is Smokey Robinson reading a letter from Diana Ross, who writes that she's mourning so hard that she cannot attend the memorial and that Michael was part of the fabric of her life. When Smokey speaks about MJ later, he calls him his little brother, which would imply blood relative. In the movie Hitsville, USA, The Making of Motown, Berry Gordy jokes with Smokey about how some of the babies that the groupies were having were his and that MJ reminded him of a little Smokey. Also, the movie An American Dream was about the Jackson 5 and would have been propaganda to reinforce the cover-up story. So, it wasn't that Michael was ever trying to look like Diana Ross like people thought. He was actually displaying features and mannerisms that he inherited from her. In one of the clips below, she says he has the same features, skin tone, and bone structure as her. Now you might say, well, Janet looks a lot like MJ. Growing up in his shadow, she adopted many of his mannerisms and used makeup and plastic surgery to replicate his appearance, like LaToya did. But their vanity was merely deception. Joe and Barry branded and marketed the Jacksons a certain way to make Michael seem related, such as with the matching outfits and afros. But if you look at their features, it's clear the only similarity to Michael is the way they smile, a learned trait. MJ has much more defined features and is rail thin like Diana Ross. And his nose and chin match Smokey's. Now it's clear why Joe told him he had a fat nose and singled him out so much with the abuse. MJ does a photoshoot with Catherine, Joe, Diana, and Smokey. Diana Ross calls MJ her child. Says she's doing it all for him. Skip to 1556. Diana Ross jokes about Michael Jackson playing her son in a movie. The intro downplays her role in starting his career, an important part of the cover-up. Diana Ross confesses her relationship with Smokey Robinson, which would have been when MJ was conceived and when Smokey was dating Claudette. Skip to 840. Diana Ross jokes about her and MJ having the same facial features and bone structure. He could be part of my family. Diana Ross calls Michael Jackson her baby. Smokey Robinson recounts how MJ used to go golfing with him and Bobby Taylor as a kid. Evan Ross says MJ was like a brother to him and that Diana was a mother figure to Michael. Joe Jackson defends the fact that Michael is his son when confronted by paparazzi. Smokey Robinson reads Diana Ross's letter at the beginning of Michael Jackson's memorial. This theory is from a YouTube channel called An American Scheme. I also created a subreddit with further info on the topic called An American Scheme. Secret societies definitely exist. Amazed that I haven't seen Gary Webb mentioned. Expose the CIA for assisting in drug trafficking and commit suicide with 2 bullets to the head. The fashion industry makes too much money from purses to care about making pockets for women easily available. Edit. All the people saying just buy men's pants have apparently never seen a woman's hips. Google Maps only asks you for feedback on its navigation when it knows it did a good job. I use navigation all the time, and I find that when it gets me to the destination on time or earlier than predicted, I get a notification asking to rate the trip. But if it gets me there after it originally estimated, I never get that notification. I believe that the US government has men in black that make people disappear if they know more than what's good for them. Pretty sure I saw it here on Reddit at one point, but someone brought up the art trade. That these $1 million art shows individual pieces that go for insanely high prices are just a way for money laundering. Epstein didn't kill himself. This one is small and local but still too insane to ignore and just came up today. Just recently, our small suburban town's favorite gas station went out of business. Everyone went there. The guy who ran it was the mayor. He retires and sells the property after an issue with the ground underneath the gas pumps. They tear down the gas pumps and keep the garage. Mavis Tire bought the property and opened a new store. A few days after the Mavis opens, someone posts a picture on Facebook of an intersection at a road near it with nails all over the road. The guy theorizes that a box of nails fell off of a construction truck. The police come clean it up and it seems all is well. Fast forward a few days later and people are commenting on the post that they're finding nails in their car tires. Not just from that intersection. People jokingly say maybe it was the new Mavis guys throwing nails around but nothing really happens. Several weeks later, people have been posting day in and day out pictures of nails in their car tires. My dad took my car into the Mavis in question about 3 weeks ago and they found a nail inside of the right front tire. I noticed that it was driving sort of funny but never that my tire was on the verge of exploding. I jokingly said people have been saying you guys have just been going around throwing nails all over the place, trying not to laugh at how insane it sounded to say out loud. The guy behind the counter said nothing but yo with a weird smirk. Over 50 people have posted on the town Facebook that their cars have had nails in their tires. My mom is driving my car now because her car has a nail in the tire. It's been almost 3 months. I'll post updates if anyone is interested. Edit. It totally might not be Mavis. There isn't any proof right now. And there are other possible reasons for the nails but the timing is too perfect to ignore. Edit 2. Apparently this is a huge deal in foreign countries. Edit 3. Holy it, this blew up. The theory that Epstein didn't kill himself. Memes aside, he could have probably exposed a lot more rich people for their 6 crimes. They just bumped him off before he could do so. O.J. Simpson is Khloe Kardashian's father. Rob Kardashian himself didn't want a DNA test done because he knew he wasn't the father. And if you look at Khloe, you can easily tell she has some similarities to O.J. Edit. Okay, wow. Didn't expect this to blow up. Just a conspiracy I believe in. Don't want people thinking that I just compare their looks and assume they're just related. Jamie Lynn Spears was raped by Dan Schneider. He is the father of her first child. Nutley NJ, where Martha Stewart was born, has a butcher shop every other corner. How much meat does one small blue-collar town need? Suspicious. The FBI keeps posting questions like this to see what the public knows. Edit. Why did this do well? The Denver airport theory. I mean, the capstone of the building literally has the Freemason logo on it. There's some weird ass apocalypse murals on the walls. The runways look like a swastika. And there's a 50-foot tall horse statue with red glowing eyes. I mean, seriously, who the duck designed that place? This isn't a conspiracy theory, but I find any chance I can to say that dinosaurs definitely had feathers and deniers are just clinging to Spielberg's image of them. 1. Kennedy gets elected. 2. Kennedy is critical of the CIA, his own VP and military, for wanting to turn the Cold War into a hot one, and the willingness to perform false flag operations, Project Northwoods, to do it. 3. Kennedy is shot. 4. His VP takes power. 5. Classified. I quite like the missing cosmonauts theory. It's unlikely but seems like it could have been possible. It boils down to the idea that Yuri Gagarin wasn't the first man in space. He was just the first man in space to survive the entire process. Edit. Phrasing. Also, thanks for the gold, kind stranger. There is a giant money laundering cycle driven by the sale of paintings. It's just a piece of canvas with some paint on it. I may understand some people would be willing to buy paintings from the Renaissance, but modern art is definitely a huge money laundering instrument. That calm on Reddit really does nothing. McDonald's shake machines are never actually down. The night crew people are just too lazy to clean it. Time to sort by controversial. Let me introduce you to Wonka Pisser, the theory that Oscar-winning director Bong Joon-ho made a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with his 2012 film Snowpiercer. Some torture devices such as the Iron Maiden were made up hundreds of years later so people would think, well, a regular hanging ain't too bad then. Jamie Lynn Spears, Miranda Cosgrove, Victoria Justice, etc. were raped by Dan Schneider. Nickelodeon let him get away with a lot. There's so many feed jokes in all those shows. A lot of the interviews with those cast members get really awkward when they're around Dan. If you got to pursue your dream career when you really wanted it, wouldn't you do just about anything? If you made Dan Schneider mad, your career would be ruined and your dreams would be over. Edit. I do admit abuse is a strong allegation, but he is at least really creepy with the feed jokes. At the very least, he is a pedophile with sexual attraction toward his female stars. All the novels written by Dean Koontz are, in fact, written by a golden retriever. The man in all of the author pictures was hired because no one would take a dog novelist seriously. I think the CIA is behind the JFK assassination. The whole aliens in Area 51 thing was to cover up the fact it's actually a military test facility. The gov would rather have alien BS about that place than have other governments steal or sell their weapons and tech to avoid another war. Pretty smart MO. We don't know who killed Kennedy. The Allies certainly knew about the Holocaust long before April-May 1945. They never just happened upon the camps as they were defeating Nazi Germany. This begs the question on why they never lifted a finger to stop the importations, destroy the rail lines to the camps, etc. But they never did, despite them knowing what was going on. Probably too late to this thread, but the idea that there are too many chicken wings for the amount of chickens sold. There is something like 1 billion chicken wings sold every Super Bowl. Where are they coming from? That civilizations have risen and fallen far earlier than we currently are aware, and that ancient civilizations were way more capable than we give them credit for. Dr. Claw is Inspector Gadget. Edit. Dr. Claw is human inspector and Inspector Gadget is obviously a younger clone of him. The US government's involvement in the crack sugar epidemic. The NFL manipulates its games just enough in order to get the best product out of their season because they are a business with billions of dollars on the line. You know damn well same as I do that Sony Paramount made that stunt with Sonic on purpose. That's by far the best commercial they could have gotten, which saved them Lord knows how much money. The media is manipulated by the government so they can teach us what to think, feel and believe. Edit. Thanks for the award. I've always been a believer of this conspiracy, and since I've graduated from communications and publicity I understand a lot from how the media works with the information and the transmission of the message. Princess Diana car crash wasn't accidental. I truly believe P. Philip hired someone to get rid of her and have a feeling that when him, Elizabeth and Charles die some very secret conversations. Emails ECC will come out. Madeleine McCann was accidentally killed by her parents. I don't believe they intended to do it, but I do believe they covered it up, and once the press ECC arrived they seen an opportunity to make money out of the situation. With all the scientists in the world, there has to be at least one secret lab on this planet where they have cloned a human. That intelligent humans and advanced societies existed before the last ice age. Our phones and all the apps on them are listening to conversation. I'm super anti-conspiracy theory, but this has happened to me way too many times in the last 2 years. I impulse shop really badly. I carry cash for the explicit purpose of I can use this guilt-free for an impulse purchase. 2 years ago I bought high-end lipstick with cash in a store after doing zero research on the brand. Next day I had ads for it despite never even previously hearing of that company before. I had only talked with a sales associate about the brand for a while. 6 months later a very similar thing happened when I switched hair care products to very specific brand. Later that night I had ads for their company which I had never heard of or looked up pre or post purchase. 8 months ago I ordered a cider I had never heard of at a bar in Mick. Didn't research the company or anything about it. Not even 2 hours after I left the restaurant I had ads for that brand of cider on my Facebook. There's easily 5-7 more times I could think of. But these are the ones that bother me the most because I am positive the transactions were all in cash. I had never looked up the product before. And I had very targeted specific ads from those exact companies less than a day later on most of my social media. Edit to add, I know how location services work and that's how advertisers get a lot of data because of where you go and shop. But shopping at a huge store with hundreds of brands, Ulta, Sephora, Macy's, etc. What are the odds I got an ad for the exact products I bought? Like genuinely, they weren't on sale, weren't researched, the sales reps didn't help me find them. Same thing with the bar, they carry dozens of brands of booze and specialty beers and stuff. What are the collective odds I got a multiple specific ads for the exact brand of cider I ordered off of a menu of 50 plus drinks? That's the weird part. If I had just gotten generalized targeted ads for those stores or random products in those stores, fine. Or if I had gotten ads for stuff I had bought before it researched a lot, also fine. But the odds of 3 ads for highly specific brands items within a day of me buying those items from a large broad store in cash is just too much. Even the most advanced algorithm couldn't have predicted a spontaneous $100 Lorac MAC lipstick purchase with the only data being this person is in Ulta and has googled Urban Decay eyeshadow before. That Toby Flenderson is the Scranton Strangler. I saw once that the Titanic that sank wasn't actually the Titanic but a very convoluted plan to cash out insurance from the damaged RMS Olympic, and that the Titanic retired in April 1935 under the name of RMS Olympic. Can't find the article I read it on, but it kinda makes sense. Had pictures of the hull and some signature features that made it very convincing. NASCAR is fake, it's just Hot Wheels going around a track and all the sounds are made by one guy in a sound booth imitating what he thinks a race car would sound like. US intelligence conducting organized blackmail operations out of Epstein's Island. The prosecutor handling Epstein's old case was told to back off and go easy because Epstein was intelligence. Acosta's departure from the administration confirmed that this was not just a rumor. So as an American, I would really like to know exactly who was blackmailing who. how far it extended, and what political decisions were affected. Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be a Sith Lord and the big bad of the Star Wars prequels, but George Lucas screwed up the directing and then chickened out after seeing the public reception of the character. See also our Darth Jar Jar. My dog did not go to Doggy Disneyland because he won a lifetime ticket for being a good boy. I think that he in fact died. Diana death was not so accidental. 9/11 was allowed to happen so the government could go ahead with political agendas that would have been very unpopular otherwise. There were all kinds of advanced warnings that an attack was imminent, yet they were ignored. The attack allowed for the invasion and never-ending occupation of the Middle East, as well as the Patriot Act that allows for increased spying by the government, and was passed only about a month after 9/11. Some people had to talk about Fight Club, otherwise, it wouldn't exist. A North American primate aka Bigfoot. Not saying he's still around, just maybe he existed. I went way deep reading this and I'm disappointed in you, Reddit. These conspiracy theories were weak as duck. For your information, the moon landings were real. In fact, there were 6 in total and it's not hard to achieve. The entertainment industry is designed to whore out kids. This one isn't as serious as most of the ones on here, but I enjoy it and have gotten into many a convo about it. In the 2017 NBA playoffs, a player named Markieff Morris, who at the time played for the Washington Wizards, hurt his ankle in game 1. This was only 11 minutes into the game and he didn't return. The injury looked like he would be out for a couple weeks and no one expected him to play game 2. But he showed up game 2 and played as if he was never injured. In fact, had his best game statistically of the playoffs to that point. Here's where it gets interesting. Markieff Morris has an identical twin brother named Marcus who also plays in the NBA. His brother was playing for the Pistons, who were eliminated from the playoffs already. The theory is that Marcus played for his brother. Both brothers have the exact same tattoos and don't have any super apparent different traits. Here's the Ringer's breakdown on it. Amazon Go isn't about replacing cashiers, but about selling stock, receiving tax breaks for Rand and selling marketing analytics on the shoppers. This is why the stores are placed in financial districts and aren't open 24 hours on the weekend. Their camera system is backed up by employees watching you. Google Amazon Go Chicago. They're closed right now. Pro tip: read the comments in Alex Jones' voice before deciding whether to believe them. That the world is controlled by a select few ultra rich. Of course it is, because they are doing all the backdoor deals making each other even more money. Lem just say it. The meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs could be a UFO. And where are the aliens? It's pretty logical to alien believers. And it's just my favorite. Just thought I'd say it. Robert Kardashian retook the bar exam after not practicing law for years just to join O.J. Simpson's legal team. He was also seen taking a bag of OJ when he got off the plane. The theory goes that the bag contained evidence like the murder weapon or bloody clothes, and Kardashian joined the legal team so he couldn't be called to testify. I don't deserve these upvotes. The bag thing wouldn't have been protected by attorney-client privilege and Kardashian could still be called even if OJ's his client.